we'll do the live thing first. Like. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. If you ever want to join the podcast, like Ian himself over here, we're going to be talking about all types of stuff today. But if you ever wanted to talk about something specific, or just join in as a guest, or let us hear about a topic you wanted to hear about, or just critique or harangue or whatever you'd like to do on any of the other topics, let us know. Hit us up in the comments. If you want to reach out to us on the DMs, on Twitter, Instagram, tremendous. Come any way you want to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Like I said last episode too, want to grow the Bigmark podcast episode fan club. I don't know. I still haven't figured out. Maybe we'll work on it today. And I haven't figured out a name for the podcast fans, like the fans of the Bigmark podcast. Big Markies, little Markies.
Little Markies. There you go. There you go.
All right, little Markies. Because that's good enough. Marky could be a guy or a girl.
Exactly.
I've met a girl, Marky, Markie. Tripped me out.
I like it.
It's cool.
I mean, I feel there's a lot of like girl
Stevie.
names now that are like guys' names.
Stevie's been around. I guess like Mike. You could call a girl Mike.
Yeah.
Like Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Big Mike.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Like I said, hit us up in the comments or wherever you'd like to. And also, if you this is the best way you could possibly support. If you did want to reach out and let your friends know, and share the podcast with people who you think are cool, or again, like the videos and do all that stuff. And if you want to go that extra mile, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. We got a few different levels there. You can kind of join in and support the team. And keep the lights on, so to speak. So, like I said, if you ever did want to come on the podcast, you can reach out, because that's exactly what we did today. The good friend of the podcast, you've seen him before, Ian Hanecak.
Yeah.
Watch out for the hand checks coming through. I always like, it's literally every time I'm about to say Ian Colton, because it's so funny. You don't like, there are friends where you like know them by their last name. There are friends where they have a crazy nickname or something, but like with Facebook, a lot of times when you see your friends, they have like some made up, or not made up, but some different last name.
And I think when we met,
yes,
I had already changed my name on Facebook. So
probably
Colton's my middle name,
right?
So it's like, I think with a lot of people, especially when Facebook just became this like collage of pictures, especially at that age, like you're just. A lot of drinking photos. I was like,
just happened.
I'm trying to get jobs. I'm trying to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
I'm going to change my name so that people can't look up Ian Hanecak on Facebook and see all this stuff. So I think by the time we met at school, I was already Ian Colton on Facebook, and that would have been like, when else would you have like seen my last name unless you're like looking at my ID?
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so funny again, like, when you have your buddies on these, you're not really even thinking about it until you have to be like, oh, I'm about to introduce this man to the rest of the world. Anyway, welcome back, brother.
Thanks. Yeah.
Glad to have you back. It's always nice when you walk in the door with a fresh grease wheel.
Yeah.
From
I figure I have to come bearing gifts.
You must. When you're coming down from the mountain too, you got to bring the fruits.
Although I will say I ended up picking this up at the Cowabunga over on James,
the DT one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the one up on the mountain, like you call, and they're just old school. Like you can't order online.
Right.
You have to call to put the order in, and if they're on the line, it's just busy. And there's like, call us back. So like I called like 5 times, I just couldn't get through.
And they just stopped at the answering probably.
Yeah. No, that just means they're super busy.
So that's how busy.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, I'll give downtown a try first time, get right through. I'm like, okay, like it's it's extra 5 minutes to go that way. So
yeah. Cowabunga Pizza, everyone. If you haven't ever tried it, if you're ever in Hamilton, it's a must go. You have to try it. I mean, it's award winning.
It is.
Win the best cheese pizza in the world. I think last year was it, or the year before? But
I think it was the year before.
Year before now. It's now at this point it's a couple years old, but they fucking had the title over in the world, man, like nuts.
It's funny to, having now lived here, because I think it would have been pretty soon into me moving here that I was on the pod last time. And, I think coming from Toronto, everyone's like, oh, well, of course Toronto's going to have the better, like there's just that perception. Mm-hmm. Toronto definitely has the better pizza, but having lived there my whole life and tried a lot of pizza. Like, I would say this is right up there with any of the best pizza you've ever had anywhere. You know, like what's that thing that what's his name does, the Barstool guy?
Oh yeah, like the
Portnoy. He goes around and, like, you know,
the one bite thing.
Like the fact that he hasn't done Cowabunga is. I mean, you know, maybe it's that he doesn't go out to the, you know, the place outside of Toronto, but right. I think especially his type of pizza, that like thin crust, New York style, especially like he tends to just get like the cheese, like classic, whatever.
Yep.
I think it would score pretty high.
For sure. So. Oh, 100%. I mean, I don't know. I think that's also the thing. Like, generally speaking, even if someone does know Hamilton and they're from the States, like, they know it as like Toronto's little brother, maybe. Yeah. And they definitely know it as a shithole. Like, again, like, especially, I don't know, man, if you haven't been to Hamilton in the last 15 years or even 20, especially if you haven't been to Hamilton in like the last 20 years, it's a quite... It's not a completely different city. I will stand up for the city in that sense, but like food-wise has turned a crazy page when it comes to like contemporary cuisine. Because Hamilton always had good restaurants, but they were older, of a certain generation. You know, Italian or just like a steakhouse, like Shakespeare's. Like that place has been around. There's a steakhouse here in Hamilton. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Classic. It's been around like forever, and there's a couple of those places that are still here, but. Again, this whole new influx of bringing all this in, and there's different styles too. Like My Pie's doing Detroit. Yeah. I'd say Cowabunga's New York, maybe Brooklyn, but that's probably more like Shorty's. Yeah. I'd say Shorty's is like Brooklyn with the sesame seed and shit. Yep. And then Chicago style, obviously, but no one's really doing like a real tavern pizza that I know of in Hamilton yet, which is the other Chicago style.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done enough of like a pizza testing tour to know yet. I basically just like I know what my type of pizza is. Mm-hmm. So in Toronto, it was like if you've ever been to like north of Brooklyn or like Batty Alley's, like it's like that. That was my type.
So good.
And so as soon as I moved out here, they're like, "Oh, if you like that pizza, like Cowabunga's gonna be your spot." And I was like, immediately, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the one." Yeah. And so I haven't really like gone out, but I've heard good things about My Pie. I've heard, all these places, and I will say like. Yeah, again, not being from here, but then starting to date Paige when I did, and starting to come down here more often over the last. We've been together now for almost 9 years. Like, I had no idea that half the stuff is here is and was here, and like even just in those last 9 years, how much more stuff has opened. The incredible restaurants, the like, you know, these certain. I feel like there's just certain like strips that have really come up in the last while. Like obviously James Street,
sure.
Up on the mountain, what's it called?
Concession,
dude. Like
Concession's unreal right now.
And it is just one of those things. Like if you go out on these streets any given night, like they're bumping. They're like, you know, it's all like young people. It's young people not only patronizing the businesses, like you know, going out and supporting them, but it's a lot of like people our age that are the ones who actually went out and started the business. Like they're the ones who took the risk, you know, probably took out a loan, like had this cool idea and have like created something really cool that, you know, some situations it doesn't work, but a lot of situations their idea has worked, and it's it's really it's cool. I don't know, you know, obviously to your point, like Hamilton's always going to have a little bit of that chip on his shoulder. Like, you know, you're still going to have a couple little like rougher areas, but like the places that are coming up could compete with any area that you like in Toronto.
And again, show me a city that's worth going to that doesn't have a couple rough spots too, exactly. Right? Yeah. And those 9 years basically that you've been here have been like booming years, right? So that's a really interesting time period to have come into Hamilton, not knowing much about it. And again, I think we even talked about this last episode, right? Or the last time you were on. Maybe not the last because we did that election one, but it's a city you can drive by really easily, right? If you're going to Niagara, you hit up the QEW, you're piecing Hamilton. And if you're going like Brantford, London, you're just hitting the 403. And you're arguably going through the nicer part of Hamilton even, but what you're seeing mostly is the steel mills on both ends. Like if you can look left, which you can't really when you're coming through on the 403. Yeah. All you would see is factories. I mean, there's like Princess Point and stuff on that part when you go up the hill, and then like you see Dundas when you go to Ancaster, and then you keep going. But when you're on the QEW Niagara, it's just steel mills. Like it literally, you look and you think the whole city is, and that's what it looks like. Cause it's like, it kind of has this weird dip in the city before it goes back up.
Because of the way they did the skyway, it was like, you know, it takes you up nice and high, but then like kind of as you're driving on the right side, you're looking, you know, Niagara Way. And so that's all you're seeing is like, you know, this really funny experience. We were in the car with, it was like Paige and one of her friends. She's from like Orangeville. Hadn't really like come out this way all that much. We're driving along the Skyway because her parents used to live in Grimsby, so we were going that way. Paige's dad was driving, and her friend at one point is like, Mr. Burbrick, something's on fire over there. And it's just like, you know, like on the smokestacks.
The
like
eternal flame.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what we call it.
Yeah. And like again, but again, if you don't know that,
it's always
it's
on.
like it might be a little concerning. Like, sir, why is that thing on fire?
I have to admit, when I was a kid coming home, that was like, we're almost home.
Yeah.
It was like a beacon of hope.
Yes. Yeah.
But it looks like a Tim Burton mill. Like you look in there, it's like Batman.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? And like, even if you go in there, it's like that. It feels like you're on Mars. They're like little cities on their own, like the two major steel mills in Hamilton, which take up most of our skyline, basically. And there's smoke billowing and ships, and you're downwind too, so you actually smell all that garbage. And like there was like a vegetable processing plant there once, right beside fucking Collective Arts actually, and that used to stank some days because they got a weird batch or whatever. I don't know how the fuck it would work, but it would stink. So like you would actually smell, and every sense would be essentially assaulted, like passing through Hamilton. And again, it's just one of those cities you can pass by, but once you're in it, you get to see so many cool things, right? So,
well, and I mean, again, like I think about when I was young, like you were saying, you just kind of like pass through. Maybe we came here like the off time for like something or whatever, but like, you know, you'd kind of just come in, you'd leave. Yeah. And just in the last 10 years, like you look around and just the number of like, the way I always look at things is like cranes in the sky. That's just like the world that I operate in, just like real estate development. And so like I look at like how many buildings are growing up, how many new developments are happening. So cranes in the sky is like a very easy to measure like reflection of what the way things are progressing, like how the local economy is booming. You know, because it's reflective of the number of people who actually want to move to this place.
That makes sense.
Like it means there's a demand. People are building, they know there's people who are going to buy it. And the number of like new buildings that have gone up, new developments, you know, like Hamilton obviously has a lot of space to continue to grow outwards. You know, there's some talk about the green belt and kind of maintaining some of the farmland or whatever near the airport and you know, out Hamilton or Dundas way. Right. But like the redevelopment and kind of gentrification of like the downtown core just in the last 10 years is crazy. Like that to me is the indication of how much Hamilton has changed and has evolved over the last like 10, 15 years.
Big time. Like again, like all that, like I think like you said too, and I was actually just thinking about this even in Guelph, because there's parts of Guelph that they're starting to work on too and bring up, and Guelph's happening. But it almost like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a war in the sense that there's, you know, casualties or whatever, but it's that sense of gentrification almost works where you kind of have to have like the bookends, and then it kind of grows in, and then if you have a central part that will help meet those bookends quicker, then it'll probably move along. And I feel like Hamilton's got that. Honestly, like around here, like Ottawa Street, this whole Crown Point area, this is super happening. Like lots of people are coming. Like Ottawa for sure is like the next big street. I can feel it. It's been on my radar forever. Barton Street, like Barton and Victoria, that's crazy with like Wildcat and Nanny and Bulls and like that whole strip. The problem is a lot of everything around there too just needs to also follow suit a little bit. It's not quite there. The thing that Crown Point has is people are moving in there, and then Ottawa Street will continue. And that's the biggest thing that, I don't know. Central Hamilton is a weird place. Like I don't know if we mentioned this one before, but Hamilton has obviously the downtown core, lots of stuff happening, you know, restaurants, bars, that kind of infrastructure, you know, hotels, that fun stuff. And then you have across the 403, West Del Lancaster on the university, and you have all that. Basically, Hamilton doesn't have much until you're in like the East End. which is then going to start to be more like, like we're talking about like 2 or 3 kilometers into the city from downtown. So there's this weird strip that used to be filled with people because they all used to work at the steel mills. Yeah. And again, I tell this story a lot, and this is kind of the long and short of what even happened in this area is that it was, you know, mostly single family homes. They all worked at the steel mills. They all started making money. They got promotions. They moved to Ancaster and Stony Creek and neighboring, you know, areas or whatever, and left the middle and sold it. And then a lot of those, whoever they sold to, split it, or they themselves split it into multiple units. That jacked up the population in the area that doesn't have much infrastructure, because the reason why you didn't need it is because if you go around the steel mills, we had Center Mall and we had shit around where people worked. So they would get 2 birds stoned and go to work, get their shit done, and come home. And they didn't think, oh, we need a grocery store here, because I don't need one. There's one right by work. I'll just go by work. Yeah. But now it's fucking 40 years later, and those steel mills are closing, and not a lot of people, don't get me wrong, are supported by those steel mills still to this day, but not nearly as much. And those areas just, you know, the crime goes, you know, everything, right? Yeah. When there's more population, there's just more lean on everything, including crime, right? So it also goes up. So that's kind of the long and short of the middle, where even these places you're talking about getting gentrified are and have always been happening areas, but that's where it starts. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Well, and you know, inevitably what ends up happening, I mean, Toronto's a good example, is this is like, you just run out of room. When a city is booming enough, and obviously Hamilton's kind of on the backswing now from you know, the steel fall-offs, but like, you know, you eventually just run out of room, right? And so like those areas that you're talking about that are kind of have fallen into disrepair a little bit and aren't you know, looking as well, like eventually it's like, hey, well, it's still pretty cool. We're still pretty close to downtown. We're just off Nikola Tesla. The day takes you out to the QE. Like access becomes a thing. Yep. How easy it is to move around. Obviously, that LRT, if and when that's built, like sounds like it's going to end, you know, somewhere on the east end here. Yep. So transit access, you know, road access, you know, like I mean, the fact that those steel mills are like right on the water, like that's a prime location. You imagine 50 years from now, all that gets redeveloped into this like beautiful waterfront community. Like those things happen, right? It's happened in Toronto. Sure. It happens all over the world.
Sugar Beach and stuff, and like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally what I'm working on right now is an old airport. So this is like an old, like it was a Royal Canadian Air Force base. You know, for the last 80 years, they were building World War II planes there. Whoa. And it's just been that, and then Bombardier was there for a while, and you know, we are essentially going to build like 60,000 new units. Like it's right on the 401. It's like, but it's because that's one of the last remaining like empty, quote unquote, you know, what you call brownfield spots in the whole city. Sure. Because otherwise, like the rest of the city is either, you know, protected residential areas where you can't build anything, you know, except for single family, or it's like, you know, designated employment areas. It's historical, whatever. Like, you know, cities are very specific about like what can go where and what can get built certain places and what can't. Sure. But an East End, I guess what I'm getting at is just like the East End eventually will, it's just a matter of time. Like people, the number of people coming to this city, to this region, the population's only going to keep going up. Change is inevitable. That area will get redeveloped. It's just a matter of when, what it looks like. Yeah. And like, I mean, talking about Toronto too, and Hamilton's the same. Cities that have like geographical features and like topography, I guess, or like topographical feators. Yeah. Anyway, I'm reaching. That also is limiting too, right? Like like Don Valley and the water. Fuck. Right? Like that is obviously major limiting. So very, very similar really in Hamilton with, I mean, we have the mountain, and like you said, yes, that goes into green space. Yes, technically that even starts to go into the whole like Grand River treaty business too. Like that's touching Caledonia, right? Yeah. So we do have that. Grimsby too. Like if we started going way more east, there's actually a ton of space out there. Yeah. But my thing is like, it would be great to have something instead of the fucking steel mills there. But isn't the ground not chooched? Like is the land not like past brown? You can remediate. Like there's environmental remediation. Like that's, you know, because it's so common now that you're taking like a site. You know, it's like if an old gas station closes down, perfect example, like there's so much oil in the soil.
Oil in the soil.
Oil in the soil. But it can get cleaned up. Like there's a process by which you can do that. You can literally like almost recycle the dirt and use it again.
Oh wow.
So like that's definitely not a limiting factor. It is more just like do the economics make sense, right? Like, and that's I think what a lot of you're seeing now is like the economics just don't make sense, and that's why you're seeing a lot of like what you call housing starts, like the number of proposed units to like begin construction is down like basically 40%. Like it's been slashed in half.
Shit.
Because the economics just don't make sense. Like and I can break down if you're interested, like kind of what things tend to cost, but it's like
right.
An area like that, for example, you're going to save a little bit on like the land acquisition costs because it's like, I think you can guess why it's not a super desirable area
unless you can deal with it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But then you run into costs. Maybe you have additional costs on construction. So obviously, like with construction, there's kind of two main things. There's labor and there's materials. So materials, basically since the pandemic, have gone up like 25-30%. Like think about. You heard of like people going to Home Depot like during the pandemic, and a piece of wood had like basically doubled in price.
Nuts.
It hasn't really come down all that much. So like just the pure cost of building has gone up, and then I guess to that area, to the point about that area is like you end up spending a lot of money to like get rid of whatever was there, right? So if it's this like super industrial commercial like manufacturing space where you need to deal with like environmental issues, remediation, you need to like recycle the materials, like then maybe again you mentioned it, like maybe people put up a fuss about like the historical value of the steel mills as far as the identity in Hamilton.
Sure,
like
true.
Again, there's just stuff that kind of gets in the way, and all that just takes costs money because it takes time, and you gotta do you gotta pay for things.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting at is like, it will happen. It's just a matter of like, it needs to get to a point where there's enough demand that someone like, a developer can say like, I know that if I invest all this money to get this done, I will be able to sell X amount of units and be able to make the amount of money that I need to make this worth it.
Right. Yeah.
So
the economics gotta make sense for sure.
Yeah.
It has to. And like you said, I totally agree. It'll happen. It's not if, it's kind of a when thing. And it'd be really cool. I mean, I remember there were some talks of like just keeping it as factories, but like start making like tech shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like microchips and shit, and turn Hamilton into like the Silicon Valley, like, that kind of thing, and bring that back home.
That's so that's something that we're actually doing at our site. Like again,
cool.
Big old airport. So the only real buildings you have on the site are the old hangars, the old bays, like where the planes would be. So imagine these are like 35-foot clear heights. You could basically fit 4 or 5 airplanes, like tail to nose, front to back,
huge,
in each of these bays.
Right.
There were 12 of these bays. It's like millions of square feet.
Yeah.
But so that's exactly what we're proposing. Like, because of the historical significance of the buildings,
right.
We don't want to tear them down. So we are looking at what's called an adaptive reuse or a renovation of the buildings, where we would, turn them into these, like, if you imagine like gutting the whole thing, but then putting in offices, these like really cool, like, hip, mixed use, like shared workspaces where you can
open
like
concept
you can have like a boardroom over here, but then there's like a mezzanine that you can overlook this garden over there, and there's a cafe that you can like pop over this like bridge thing to get to, but it's like, but then the window or the doors actually do still functionally open and close. So like in the summer you could have it be this indoor outdoor, like designing spaces like that.
Sure.
Is definitely appealing to a lot of companies that it's the fucking the Googles of the world, the tech people, the what at least we look at as like the jobs of the future, and it's funny that we bought the place from Bombardier, which is in like standard manufacturing, because like those jobs are a bit more on the decline. Like those are kind of the jobs of the past, unfortunately. Sorry to anybody who's doing that right now, but it's like it is jobs of like more of the future that you want to build these spaces to cater to.
Exactly.
And I think to your point, those spaces, if you again had the money and had the desire, and then there was a demand, building these like really cool, unique spaces that are functional, but have that character that attract, a company like a startup, or you have these like shared spaces that
co-ops and stuff.
Co-ops, exactly. So it's definitely, again, that's a I think that's a very common thing for people to do.
How old are the buildings?
The
hangars
we're dealing with. So I mean the whole site had like developed over the course of like 80 years. So the original, like the oldest ones were built in like the 1930s and 40s.
Oh, interesting.
Way back.
Are they like brick?
No, some of them they'd be like steel. They'd be
Steel.
steel.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
They're massive.
Yeah, they're massive. Yeah. So I'd say like the first phase was probably around that time. Then they probably built most of it in like the 50s and 60s, like kind of just post-war, and that was like after World War II, after they like had spent a lot of time building the planes for that. It was just a Royal Canadian Air Force Base.
Cool.
And then I think in the 80s was like the most recent wave of buildings. So you can just see the building, like and some of the very early stage ones, the kind of 30s and 40s ones. Some of those have already been renovated. So like, for example, Centennial College has their school of like aviation.
Oh shit.
Or aerospace engineering.
Whoa.
And so it's this like, it's cool because they're taking this like old what was called de Havilland, which is like this Canadian aerospace giant.
Man, they made crazy planes.
Yeah, so that was where de Havilland like had their Ontario presence, because I think they're based out west, but they had their Ontario presence, and so it's an old de Havilland hangar that Centennial College took over, renovated, and now like they have these like beautiful new planes just like open, and it's a bunch of 20-year-old students like working on aviation engines, and it's just like it's this perfect, again, like I look at it, I'm like, Jesus, this is incredible. Like imagine being a Centennial College student. This is like sick. This is where you go to class. This is your school.
So sick.
So it's again a great example of something they have done. And then some of the other hangars, not as nice, but they've converted a few hangars into like indoor sports facilities. So like,
oh shit,
the hangar, you might have, like, if you played
Hoop Dome.
The Hoop Dome's there. Yeah.
Oh no shit. Oh
yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
I know all the dude. It's so funny. I was basically picturing that in my head. I'm thinking steel beams. Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, for sure.
So literally, like the Hoop Dome's in there.
No shit. Oh my god.
The hangar sports complex. They have soccer fields. They have indoor beach volleyball. They have like a bunch of different things. They have squash. They have. They even have like indoor go-karting. Like they've converted a bunch of these hangars into all that cool stuff.
Sure.
So I don't know that what we would do would be like athletic, recreation based. It'd be more probably like just trying to attract jobs. So like office space, commercial space, like light, what do you call like light manufacturing? Okay. But I could definitely see that being an option here in Hamilton as well. It's
sure. Well, again, same thing down there. Because, again, there's obviously the main steel mills, but there's so much other space that aren't the steel mills that might not be quite as fucked up. And then, I mean, there's all kinds of spaces like I think we mentioned before, but like the cotton factory. Have we ever talked about that space here?
I don't think so.
So, did you come to see us at the Mule Spinner?
Yeah.
So that is the cotton factory. Those grounds there. Okay. That bigger building. I don't know if you even got to see like where you parked, maybe. Yeah. And there's a bigger building behind, like the Mill Spinner.
I don't know. It's dark. I don't know.
It's true, dude. It's kind of one of those things where at night you probably don't even necessarily even sense it because it's humongous.
It felt like we were in the middle of nowhere. Like I remember just driving up there.
It is kind
of go past a certain point where we're like, okay, this is all like the old industrial stuff, and then we just pulled up in front of the Mule Spinner. I was like, okay, this is but perfect example. Like that, what a sweet space. Like what a nice space they turned it into.
And that was an active cotton factory till like the early 90s. Like my mom said, she bought stuff there like when I was a baby, but it closed down for a while, kind of sat there, and then someone bought it, and a developer in Hamilton, and like split it up into all these units. And there's like carpenters and like more like again lighter manufacturing, I guess you could say. I don't know if there's a blacksmith in there, but that kind of stuff. Like my pops would have a place in there, no problem.
Nice.
Like there's a music studio in there. There's yoga. There's just office spaces. There's artists studios and things, and then there's like a huge, giant, like multi-use event space. Like we had a show in there, our first ever show with my old band, and we had like 450 people there, and it was like half of it.
Yeah,
it's huge, and it's pretty sick because it's old. Like place would have been built in like probably early 1900s.
Yeah,
like early, and it's all wood and sick inside, but like in that big area, it used to be where they used to like put the grommets on like jeans and shit, and some of them are like embedded into the floor.
Wow,
because it's just wood, and eventually it gets stepped on and pushed into the floor, and you look around and you just see these little gold rings in the floor, and you're like, what the fuck? But they're just polished in now, right? Like they're in there forever. Cool elevators and shit. Like the place is just expansive. But yeah, think about how many places there could be. I mean, they did that with Westinghouse. Like there's the old Westinghouse building here in Hamilton. You should go check it out. Actually, I don't know how much they let you in, but just looking at it, it's one of actually the nicer buildings in Hamilton.
Westinghouse, is that the one like right around the corner from here, right off the park?
No, so that one is just this old, I forget what they started doing there originally. There's right around here is the Lifesaver factory. They used to be where they made like the Lifesaver candy.
Yeah.
And like used to drive past there, used to smell like butterscotch. Like when they were doing the butterscotch that day. It was fucking sick.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's like literally right around the corner some kind of paper. There's a studio in there. Like,
so I've been that's why it might have even been the day that I saw you driving by, because it was the day like Canada Day or something.
Yeah,
there was that event going on in Gage.
Yeah, exactly.
And a friend of mine, I don't know if you would have met her, musician, shout out Danielle Bowden.
Okay,
so out in Hamilton, she was doing some work at the studio there, and like so we were coming down to the park, and she was like, "Oh, drop by." So we ended up like going in with the girls, and like
so cool.
She like brought one of the girls into the studio and was like trying to get her to like sing. It was like the sweetest thing ever.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, super nice space. Like like again, to your point, you could tell whatever this was, 80 years ago, a lot of that character, a lot of that like, history is just like embedded in the floors, in the walls, in the elevator. Like it's, the building itself really like breathes the story and tells it.
I think they did like stationery, like paper, like literal paper there or something like that. I can't remember, or it was like a small newspaper even.
Well, because there's a rail line, I feel like an old rail line. It's not like
right there.
Yeah, but like so clearly, whatever they were making there, they're loading on or off.
And I think there was a bunch more shit around here too, because the brick factories right down there, and the line, like the rail line alone, there would have been more stuff like directly right, and like. I don't know. It might be the way you come down. Like, do you come down Sherman and come across Cumberland? And like, sorry for everyone listening, you don't know where this is in Hamilton.
Today I did 403, but normally I do that way.
Okay, so when you come down there and you hit all the speed bump stuff, behind all those houses on your right, like when you're coming here, there's like another like block area where there's businesses.
Oh, okay.
And they're like semi-industrial. So like there would have been way more life around here, but by the rails, right? Because that would have been super important. But yeah, like I forget exactly what was in that building, but I've been in that building too. Super cool. But the Westinghouse one I mentioned was like where Nikola Tesla was fucking around, like legit, like where all the shit went down. It was like here in Hamilton, which is kind of fucked to think about. I mean, a lot of it was in New York too. That's where he lived mostly. But like Edison was here being like, nah, I'll just take that. Like whatever happened between those guys, I don't know, whatever, right? Although, which is funny,
just messing with each other, two of them.
Yeah, and we like named a street after like fucking Thomas Edison invented the light bulb.
Win.
That's what Nikola Tesla gets. Yeah, he gets a street in Hamilton, and Thomas Edison is the biggest inventor of all time. Yep. But yeah, it's like actually one of the nicer buildings I think in Hamilton, but it's just like kind of tucked away in this weird area. Kind of the north end, just like pretty rough around the edges. Near that big park. I don't know. Did you ever see where the Arkells had that basketball court? Did you ever see that? So. Forget what the fucking park is called. It's a classic park.
Like Red Hill Valley's way? Like further,
not quite. Like right downtown. Like I said, north end. So like kind of central. Like I want to say that is like Wentworth. No, not even. Victoria North kind of thing. Anyway, like kind of near like My Pie. We talk about My Pie.
Okay. Yeah.
Like the park is right around there.
Yeah. Okay.
So like almost more like Barton and Sherman. like in that, but like whatever the next one is, I'm bad with my.
I mean, I think the tough thing with, what you're talking about and what we're talking about generally is like, it's just hard to get the timing right.
That's
like
so true.
You're just always going to get one or the other. It's always going to be either like the cool space, and most of the time it's like, I think we were talking about this last time, but it's like you kind of just follow the artists. It's like, the artists like find the cheap place because they can't afford it because they're not fucking making any money.
Right.
And they like make a place cool by, opening studios, opening spaces, and then, people with money are like, well, this seems like a cool space. Maybe I want to be here. And then they come, and then again, people who want to make some money are like, well, if people want to be here, then people probably need a place to live because they want to be closer to it because they don't want to have to drive there all the time. And so it just becomes this cycle of like, you're either like the place comes first and then all the development comes later. And then unfortunately, again, the artists and like the people who made it cool in the first place get pushed out.
Yep.
That's what people talk about gentrification.
Right.
Or like in most suburbs, it's just like rows and rows and rows of just housing with nothing. And then you have to get in your car to go literally anywhere. But it's like that perfect mix of like, a decent amount of density. So like you can walk places, so you're close, but then having those amenities, things you want to go to that are cool and hip, and services that you need day to day, grocery store, like you said, cafe, whatever it is, that you can just walk to or bike to, like whatever. But ideally, you don't need to like get in a car and drive and get to a parking lot that takes up half the space in this big box retail whatever. I think that's the like goal most communities, most places are trying to get to. It's just hard to like get that timing right of like how does a place evolve, how does it change over time to where you have the right amount of density that warrants the amount of services and amenities that those people can use and want. And there's a few communities like that, like I would say like Lock Street has like got a good thing going where it's like, okay, there's kind of like a main strip and it's got a bunch of the things. There's not a lot of density, but they are starting to add, a couple like, what you call mid-rise condos there, a bit more density. And some people don't like it, but it's just like you kind of have to appease both because if you're just like, 2-story, maybe 3-story houses, there's just not enough people there to like sustain.
Right.
And then you just get everybody driving in.
Yes.
And that's not what you want. Ideally, you want it to be more pedestrian friendly. You want it to be more cycling friendly. So it's a hard thing to try and, bring together at the right time. And,
well, because that's the thing in Hamilton, there are actually, when I say that there isn't a lot of infrastructure in this place, it's not a lot of active infrastructure. There are empty buildings that would have had a grocery store in it, or a small little cafe, or a small little mom and pop shop, and gas stations and little things, but they've closed or something, right? Like that's the thing. Like you said, it ebbs and flows, and the timing is right. Like there's tons of places you see that are great, and you're like, then they close and you're like, well, they just missed the timing. Like if they opened one more year late, like a year later would have been like, I think of tons of places right now in Hamilton that like would have been killing it right now. Lock Street specifically, there was this great burger place and this was like arguably the burger like was like the cutting edge of Hamilton cuisine. Like that's what broke the crust, cracked the glass ceiling, so to speak, the sugar glass ceiling, was the burger. Because like all of a sudden all these burger shops opened in Hamilton and they were all incredible. Like Hamburger opened and Delirious, and like, I mean, there's even more now, but like places were doing, there was this one place called Chuck's, not Chuck's Roadhouse, which is like a
shout out Chuck's.
Shout out Chuck's as well. Chuck's is nice.
Chuck's is nice.
But this was a privately owned Chuck's, and it was a fucking hole in the wall. Like it would have been right at home at like classic Toronto, like 10 seats, like tiny motherfucker. With the grill in the back open, with the little bar. Tremendous. Perfect use of the space too.
Wrong time.
It was, but just the wrong time. And they actually had like problems with the building. They kept like their exhaust fan system was fucked up and stuff, and it kept like exhausting into people's apartments upstairs. Imagine getting like burger grease in your apartment and you're like, bro, shut it down. But they used to make incredible burgers. Like they made this thing called the Guilty Pleasure Burger, and it was a bacon burger. Like the patty itself was ground bacon. See you later.
It's innovations like that make you stand out, that turn you into an establishment. Dude, that is,
it was incredible. But yeah, just and again, like Locke Street arguably was one of the first streets that came up heavy in Hamilton.
Yeah,
I'd say for sure. Like I can't even necessarily remember when it wasn't, at least something happened in there. I mean, West Town, that bar that's down, I've been going literally my entire life. It's been open forever as the West Town. It's the same space. They actually expanded more. That's the only difference. But all these other restaurants, like they all kind of came in, I wouldn't say at the same time, but Democracy, RIP, is just closing now. But that's been there for fucking 13 years or something. Like it was there forever.
Yeah.
There's that like old church that has been a couple places, which is a new restaurant that looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
Again, Locke Street, there's a lot of turnover if you really look at Locke Street, but it's always had that energy. And
I don't think people appreciate like how tough running a business is.
No
like,
way.
It's something like the average shelf life of a restaurant is like 8 months because so many just fail immediately. It's like to have a 13-year run is like that's like unheard of. So so a lot of these places that is like, we've been around since like, like Seeps, I always joke as the example. It's like, the same bar your dad went to, your grandparent went to. It's
legit.
Like, that's literally like a unicorn. That doesn't happen anywhere under any circumstance. So, I think the idea that like, it's all going to be like mom and pop shops, these like cool, like hip, unique stores. Like I know a lot of people don't like, chains. They don't like, kind of corporate brand types. And like, I get that. It's just like, they're way more able to like sustain themselves. Unfortunately, it's just like, again, dude, you gotta come down to the economics of it. It's like, if it's like a mom and pop shop and like you run out of money, like, sorry, but like you might have to close up shop. Whereas like often if you are maybe you're a franchisee through an organization, like you can get more help and you can sustain yourself a bit more. Like it just, and I agree. Like I like the mom and pop shops more. I'm one of those people, but it just unfortunately that's how it ends up working out for a lot of the business owners. Yeah,
and I think if I'm in the same boat. I like the mom and pop shop too. But if we as mom and pop shoppers, if we say fuck the big places, it's hurting us more at the end of the day. Like you said, the economics of it, they're going to make more money. They're going to be able to be an island in that sea kind of thing and like potentially raise all the other boats around it, right? Like in that sense of like, as long as that's there will be people going there. Yeah. It's probably not even the clientele that you want in your mom and pop shop if they're going to go to like the big chain, but let them go. And then hopefully they bring more people with them, because if you allow that in, like, cause again, that's where I was kind of getting with that war analogy too, with gentrification. Like you need like the Marines to go in and like bust it down. And like you said, that's kind of the artists. That's the cool hip people. They're the Marines. They're the first on the boots on the ground and they're making fucking space. And then the rest comes in, and naturally it is this, I mean, it's got to be the truth. Like you can't look at it any other way. That's how life progresses. There's a cutting edge of extreme. There's an extreme cutting edge of people that are forward thinkers and free thinkers and out of the box thinkers that are coming up with new shit constantly. As much as they're coming up with, they're also as much good as they're coming up with. They're also coming up with bullshit. But some of that good shit makes it through. And then that stuff becomes mainstream, and then that becomes uncool. Yeah. And then the next line of people go, let's make something cooler. Yeah. And that's just the fucking progression of life. Yeah. And if at any point we stop that, there's no progression. And that's the thing. As much as it's like, we want to maintain a history, or we want to maintain a certain, it's like, well, what the fuck is it doing for you right now? In certain circumstances, obviously. Like, again, historical districts. And, I mean, I might have the wrong audience here, but like, you talk about like, you look at Europe and like a lot of the stuff where it thought a lot of things are like frozen in time and stuff, but it's like, you kind of have two options. You can freeze everything in time for sure. That's fine and preserve history and stuff. But at this point, this country was built on progression. It was built on new shit. It was built on tearing down the old shit and building a new shit. Yeah, okay. Maybe we've lost some historical buildings that would be nice to have around still. And yeah, there's a lot of other whatever approaches you want to call that North Americans do versus Europeans. But like I said, there's kind of two operations, and like we actually have space to grow. That's the thing. Europe hit that wall a long fucking time ago, and it would have had the same problems. Yeah. And people were always like, "Oh, don't do this, don't do that," right? So it's like,
yeah, people like they really want their cake and be able to eat it too. 100%. Where it's the same people who like don't want sprawl, don't want people to like develop into the green belt, and don't want like car centric suburbs to continue. Also, don't want people to like tear down that old building and
move into their neighborhood
to build the housing. Yeah, in the downtown core, where it's like, look, buddy, like there's no room. There's no room otherwise. Like the only other option is like we just stagnate. The city stagnates in population, and then things really start to. Like that's already happened. That happened once before.
Sure.
It's not good. You always want a consistent influx of people coming to your city. It strums up new business. It strums up, economic prosperity. Everyone does well when a city is growing.
Yep.
Those people need somewhere to live. Okay. That's all it is. So like, pick your poison, whatever.
Sure.
We're either going to sprawl out to the suburbs and just, endless sprawl. Mm-hmm. There's an argument to be made for that. Or we're going to have to tear something down and build new. And again, I think there's a way that you can do that tastefully.
Of course.
I think there are like, there's plenty of developments around the world that you can point at that like will take character and historical buildings and like renovate them. And
oh, sure.
Plenty of places in Toronto and here where it's like, hey, you'll maintain the facade of the building.
Super
so
cool.
The character's still there, and boom, there's a building within it, on top of it,
live
whatever.
in Madison, live in Maple Leaf Gardens or something.
Yeah,
I mean, it's school, but yeah.
Right?
Like,
so stuff like that. There's a way to do it, but yeah, it costs more.
Yeah,
you're gonna notice a theme when I talk about this stuff. It's just it's all money.
Sure,
and it's like, yeah, it's cheaper to tear down a building and build a new one. The cheapest thing is just like if you have a blank slate of land, just build something new.
Right.
Next is going to be tear something down, just quickly, demo it, build something new.
Yep.
The most expensive thing is going to be the like maintenance of the facade, like really maintaining the character, because you have to be so careful with how you're building to not damage things.
Sure.
That it is the most expensive option. So it's like, okay, sure, that's an option. It's just going to be really expensive. So where's that money coming from? Then that's why a lot of these buildings turn into like luxury apartments. Then people don't want, luxury apartments because they don't want only housing for the rich. They need more affordable housing. So it's just this like catch-22 of like, there is, and that's why housing and the struggles around, housing are just really difficult to talk about because it's not straightforward. There's so many different things that come into play. There's no right answer. There's no,
lots of ins and outs and what have you.
But everyone loves to have an opinion.
Sure.
Find,
Well, that's what happens in these multifaceted things. I find the more complicated a subject is, the more opinions people have, and that's why most of these opinionated talks end up being about such big, broad subjects that have so many perspectives, so many effects on so many people in so many different ways.
But people so confidently, I feel like, will share like, no, this is the right thing. Like I think it is more and more rare to just be like, yeah, I don't really know, man. It's complicated. Sure. Like people can't like just be humble or be, kind of acknowledge that they maybe don't have all the answers. It's like, hey, it's complicated, man. Like, yeah.
Well, but that's the interesting thing, because you've been involved in politics. I find that where that counts most, you can't take that position. When it comes to politics, you can't just be like, it's complicated. Like, that's what scares me. Yeah.
You need to say things with conviction.
You do, and what's scary, right? Yeah. Let alone to even get to the place, get the votes, or become in the like. There's so much. Just again, you have to take a hard line at some point. It's impossible not to, but choosing which line to choose, like again, so in these multifaceted issues must be so difficult. And like, yeah, you have parties and like, so that maybe there's some influence there of how you are going to choose. And then that's how people end up voting is like, well, when it comes to issues, these people are more conservative and these people are more liberal. When it comes to this, that, and the third, it's like, and up until this point, doesn't seem like a single party has ever really been truly like balanced in the sense of like, again, even just conservative versus liberal, not the parties themselves. I just mean the concepts of like being conservative and being liberal. Like you can't, again, like I said, literally anyone who has actually come to the podium and been like, there's like, there's a couple ideas on both sides of it. They just, it's done. No one even talks about them.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that is just like, in the political world, people want, and like this is part of why Trump won. Like they like someone with, again, conviction.
Yeah.
They like someone who has an opinion. I think people are sick of like, the political answers to things, which is literally the non-answers. It's like they don't want to say yes, they don't want to say no, because I don't want to, upset my potential voters over here, and I don't want to upset my constituents over there.
Right.
And so, like, politics has become this like just charade of non-answers. And so I do think, right or wrong, people appreciate someone who just like says what they think, and like whether they know people are going to agree or disagree, like that conviction, I think, and lack of fear of disagreement with someone, like people tend to gravitate towards that a little more.
Sure.
So I mean, and that's how you get like populists, for example. Like people consider that like a bad term, but all it is really is just like someone who speaks the language of the kind of general population, and and a lot of the time when people are looking to a politician, they're looking for answers. And so when a politician could just like give a straight answer, whether they agree with it or not, often it's not even the content of what they're saying. It's just the conviction in the way that they say it that is what they like.
Which is such a tenuous position, I find, to be as the the people in that democratic situation we're talking about, the people on that side. I feel like it's such a weird position for them to be in, sense of like, we just want someone just to do something. Like, we're sick of just someone being wishy-washy, because we know you're going to go back to the office and actually have to make a decision. So just tell us what that decision is. And that's just such a brutal position, because like, again, like you said, you get people like Trump, which is like, it clearly doesn't necessarily matter what he's saying. It's the fact that, like you said, he's saying it with conviction and backing it up. As crazy as it is, he usually is kind of a man of his word. Like as crazy as those words are, he's usually a man of them, which is like, again, this is the point where we're like, admiring this guy for being nuts, but at least he's like you said, a man of conviction.
Well, I think the perfect example, I don't know if you followed like the New York mayoral race at all. But this Mondami guy against Cuomo. It's like Cuomo's the perfect example of just like a career, politician, doesn't want to, he's humming and hawing, doesn't want to upset anybody. And Mondami was just like, I'm going to freeze rents, and I'm going to like, focus on affordability here in New York. It's just like, cool.
And everyone's like, this guy's a communist.
But that's the thing. It's like, whether you agree with what the substance of what he's saying, like whether rent freezes are going to work or not, we'll see.
Yeah.
But the fact that he had the ability to just say what he wanted to do and be clear in that, he won. Like, and again, that's not going to work every time, but I think the day and age we're at right now, we're coming out of what has been a really long time in the political arena of just of that humming and hawing and not giving non-answers. That I think that you're going to see it on both sides of this emergence of just like, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to be clear, and those people are going to start winning more and more. And again, I would call Mondami is a populist. Like, populists aren't just on the right, it's on both sides.
Sure.
And I think that's like what they're doing, is just being very clear in what they're going to do.
Yes.
And to your point, often following through and actually doing those things.
Yeah. And again, like you said, that's what people want to hear. But that's always an interesting thing. I think, it made me think when you brought up that populist notion before too. It's like actually finding the middle of the road is so hard, right? Like so many people from so many different backgrounds make up, especially fucking New York City. Like, oh my gosh, imagine a mayor like that's like, it's another country, really. Like, and being the mayor of New York, it's like you're the mayor of fucking the world. But both countries, Canada and America, such crazy different, diverse cultures and peoples, and like, where do you find that middle? Who is the middle of that? And then on top of that, we just mentioned all these artists and wackos are the ones who actually make shit happen. And again, a lot of those people live in cities, and that's where a lot of things happen. And I feel like that's where you get like most of the country being like, the cities make all these, but it's like the cities also make things happen. Yes, yep. Of course we need our farmers and we need everybody in the whole country. But this whole idea of like, why don't we get our voice? It's like, well, you're not really doing the thing that we got to give these wild, like I said, the makers, the doers and the makers and the shakers, right? We got to give these people a place to roam free, or everything stands still, but yet also make everyone happy, right? So it's like this really interesting thing where I think maybe people are realizing, a lot were given to like, extreme ends of everything, and maybe we need to get more into the middle, or vice versa. But this whole idea of, again, whatever that might be, we want the person being convicted and like, serious about what they're going to do, and just an actual plan.
Yeah. I think people, when they're, backed into a corner, feel like they are, because they're up against something very difficult, whether it's the affordability thing, the, rent prices, whatever it is, whatever like issue. I mean, inflation, like obviously cost of living, I think for most people is what's causing them to lose sleep at night. When you're dealing with something that is that immediately important, a complicated answer isn't what you're looking for.
Sure.
It's something, it's a catchphrase, it's a slogan.
Right.
It's something simple that like, like my rent is high and keeps going up.
Right.
And so if you just freeze it, then it won't go up. Love it. You know what I mean? Like, people want these simple, consumable solutions to what are really complicated answers. And I think I maybe mentioned this last time. I always just go back to something that this academic, this guy Thomas Sowell says, which is like, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. So it's like, rent freeze isn't a solution. There's going to be a trade-off. There's going to be, sure, some people are going to have their rents frozen, and temporarily that's going to help them, and good. Like, by all means, you can't, don't want to discredit the fact that will have some positive benefit in the short term. I don't know. I'm not, I don't have a crystal ball. Basic economics tells me that's not going to be good in terms of the landlord's ability to be able to maintain buildings, first of all, to be able to, open up new units. Some units are probably just going to sit empty because landlords are going to think, well, why do I even rent to this person if I'm not making up? Like, there's going to be,
it's going to catch up at least.
There's going to be a trade-off at some point of some kind. Yeah. But, for someone who's dealing with the immediacy of the rent issue, you don't want to go into that rabbit hole of like, well, maybe this isn't a good idea. All that matters to you is the most important thing, which is being able to put food on the table. And I get it. Like, it's just, it's tough. It's not straightforward, I don't think.
Yeah. And like you said, there are consequences to decisions, no matter what, no matter how well intended as well. Right. Again, maybe that got Mamdani into his position, but if he can keep that for a while, but again, just cost of living and, like you said, inflation, like those things will catch up, right? Like, it'll just, if one thing is fixed and something else is variable, that variable thing is going to catch and then surpass the fixed thing at a certain point, whether that is tomorrow, 5 years, 20 years from now, it's going to fucking happen. And again, maybe that is just life, that we are constantly adjusting. There's no real sweet spot in life, that we're constantly just like adjusting and getting there. And this grass is always greener. And we should honestly, in a way, find a way to be comfortable in that.
Yeah.
But there's something about just the human condition where that is uncomfortable. And maybe that actually is the feeling of that we need to get used to, is that it's telling us it's uncomfortable because we need to do it, continue to do it, but also realize that, like, you know, that is life, and it's always going to be adjusting and, you know, trying to find that equilibrium, but never really finding it. Yeah. And, you know, all that stuff.
Well, I think, I completely agree, first of all, because I think the slight adjusting of those knobs is the perfect.
Slight is the key word, right?
Slight.
Yeah.
Because I think people, you know, and you have different people who look at it differently. Like some people who are like, that is almost the definition of conservatism. It's like, you know, like, don't mess with it too much. Like, you know, the system kind of works, so like, let's kind of maintain it a little bit, and only slight adjustments here and there. Whereas, you know, a bit more of like a kind of traditional liberal view would be like, you know, you hear people say like, tear the whole thing down, the whole thing is corrupt, the whole thing is broken.
Right.
And look, like, I get it in some parts of the world. I think where we live, one of the safest, most like well-maintained, beautiful, like, I don't think this particular system is broken to the point where like it needs to be torn down. Maybe there's other parts of the world where like corruption and, you know, criminality and things, it's like, hey, something very systemic needs to change, and like we need to tear it all down. Like, look, I get that. I just don't think where we are, the issues we're facing here are like a tear it all down type situation. I do think it's exactly what you said with like, you know, little knobs we got to change here and then wait and see what it does. Like, do this thing, wait.
Yeah.
And you know, look, see what happens. You know, take notes. Maybe that wasn't the right thing. Maybe you turn it back because that wasn't the right decision. Like, you know, I think you have to be very careful about making these like broad sweeping changes because of the unintended consequences. Yeah. And what you said around like these other variables that you maybe didn't anticipate. You know, it's like we were in school and like you'd come up with a theory, a working theory, like, hey, I'm doing this experiment and this is my theory of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And how often do you go through that? And what ends up happening is nowhere close to what you theorize. It's like, yeah, that's how the world works. The entire world is just a thing where you're like, you assume something, you do it, and then you see what happens. And it's very seldom going to be what you thought was going to happen.
And you can extrapolate a lot of data from that, from the fact that you didn't get what you thought you would, or you do it again and you still get something like.
But most people, sorry to interrupt, but I feel like most people don't, because they'll go into something and be like, no, this is the right answer, to then like renege on that and say like, actually I fucked up. That thing that I said was going to fix everything didn't. And so they just like double down. Yeah. And, you know, so that like reflection that you're talking about, I feel like is more rare than it should be or than it needs to be.
Right. Yeah. And that is the tough part. I think, you know, in some ways talking about, you know, the scientific method, that is somewhat built in, but even scientists fuck up and there's confirmation bias and they fudge the data, or they come up with a million different reasons why it didn't work that way, or it's everyone else's issue but theirs. But I don't know, that's the thing. Like, you talk about this fine tuning that we're talking about, like when you make these big giant changes and everything, right? Like you really don't know what that will lead to downstream, I think, at the end of the day, right? I think that's the biggest part. Like, I mean, I was listening to a podcast and this guy was talking about I think the podcast was a few years old because this movie's been out for a while, but they made like the live action Mulan. Remember that Disney movie? Yeah. They did like a live action version of it, right? And apparently they took out, I haven't seen it, but apparently they took out a bunch of like the I'll make a man out of you and all the like gender jokes, really, because that whole movie is like a gender joke.
It's her dressing up as a guy. Yeah. And
It's a Joan of Arc story. It's like a million different things, but it's all, the crux is the fact that she is not a man. Like, you have to already establish that there's men and women for that whole thing to even work.
Right.
Now they've tried to change that as much as they can in today's day and age. And especially, like I said, this is probably maybe a 4-year-old podcast at this point that I was listening to. So like even back then, maybe things were a little bit more heavy duty with the cancels and all the different sweeping changes. But they removed some of these songs, and the host of the podcast I was listening to was talking about showing the movie to his daughter, and his daughter was, I think, 4 or 5 or 6 or something, young at the time.
Yeah.
And he was excited to show her because he loved the movie Mulan when he was a kid. He's like maybe 5 years older than us. Like, he's not much older. So like he would have seen the movie when we were kids too. Loved the movie, blah, 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 all these things. And he was actually looking forward to showing this movie to his daughter to actually bring up some of the subjects of the movie, the subject matter, and be like, hey, this is actually what's going on, and this is from a different time, and like, you know, these songs and da-da-da-da-da, right? And just a learning opportunity, whatever, just the chance to talk. And a lot of those songs were cut. And he's like, I didn't actually have that chance to then talk to my daughter about what I would like to teach her about my viewpoints on life, at least. That's all I guess you can do as a parent. But, you know, he said that opportunity wasn't even there. And, you know, it makes me think about, like, you know, renaming Ryerson and fucking cutting, like, they're starting to do shit with Dundas right now. And I'm like, you've opened fucking Pandora's box there. Because now what? We're going to rename the town over here. Every city in Canada has a Dundas Street.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, again, I understand why. I'm not disagreeing that there was dastardly shit that happened. And it was also a product of their time, too. And not to give them any credence. But, you know, you go back far enough, everyone was fucking diabolical.
Yeah.
Based on today's standards. But now we'd lose the opportunity to be like, hey, this guy was great and did a bunch of shit, but he was also fucked up.
Yeah.
And like, fucked up people can do good shit sometimes. It's not excusable to do fucked up shit, but it's also excusable to let that person like live and be. Because that's the thing that I'm scared about, is that it's not just a fine tuning with this whole, like, I don't even know. I'm down with anti-bigotry. I'm down with anti-fascism, all this stuff. Like, fuck that shit. 100%. Like, fuck fascism and fuck all the bad shit in life. But to destroy it, to me, is you're just on there. You're lowering yourself to that level.
Yeah.
And like, again, yes, let's rewrite some shit. But to destroy and remove is censorship. And that's, to me, way more totalitarian than leaving a fucking statue up to be like, hey, this guy did actually do some great shit, but they also did some fucked up shit. I mean, again, Canada alone would not be a country if there weren't fucking diabolical hat traders doing crazy shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think it people who seek that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if they try to pretend like they're perfect, or that like people are perfect generally, and that like in order for you to be celebrated in some way, you have to be perfect across the board. Like, you know, and I'm not, again, I'm similarly not discounting whatever it was that Dundas did. It sounds like it had to do with like slavery.
I think so.
Indigenous people. I don't know. But even the fact that 99% of people had no idea and weren't like, I wasn't going to Yonge and Dundas Square thinking, I'm coming here and I love saying his name, and I'm supporting whatever the hell he did to people 300 years ago.
It's the name these two fucking streets.
Yeah, like no one's. More people now know about it, and maybe it's a good thing, but more people know about it now because of this whole, you know, debacle than ever would have. Right. And again, I guess what I'm saying is like, it to me it makes more difficult the idea that like you can be imperfect. Like, think about any great athlete, any great, you know, Nikola Tesla and Edison, like all these great minds, they all did fucked up shit, right? Sure. Like Tiger Woods is a fucking, you know, sex maniac, fiend. Like these guys, you know, drug addicts, like all these athletes, you know, cheat on their wives, they beat their wives, they do this, they do that. That's why it's part of why they say never meet your hero. Like, people aren't perfect. There's no expectation that they should be perfect.
Yep.
And I don't think that tearing down people who did some bad, but also did some great, because there's a reason why we were celebrating Dundas in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it sets the expectation that, like, it doesn't matter what kind of greatness you might achieve in your life, that one time where you know, maybe said the wrong thing to that girl, or you know, maybe did a drug you shouldn't have done that was, you know, but it's like, well, but, you know, you smoked weed at a time when it was illegal, or like, you know, when it was legal or something. Like, times change,
right?
Societal expectations change. Like, whatever Dundas maybe did was, like, probably more acceptable at that time. Like, that was more a part of the norm.
Yeah.
And so to hold someone historically to the same standards that we hold ourselves to now isn't really fair, because it's like, well, you know, what I'm saying and doing on this podcast 50 years from now, my grandkids will be like, wow, what a bigot. Like, let's take his name off of like, I'm going to change my name so I don't share his last name because of what he said.
Right.
It's like,
oh God.
You know, so you can't live that way. You can't hold yourselves to future standards, not knowing what they're going to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do the same to historical figures by holding them to the standards of today. It's just not, like, you're not doing anybody any favors.
It is a strange hypocritical stance too, right? Of, like, you know, what, you're perfect and you're going to go out here and be like, this guy, for all, like you just said, all the good things are now discredited because of, again, maybe slavery and stuff is not a little thing, but, like, again, it's one part. I mean, they were tearing down Ulysses. This is in the States too. They were tearing down Ulysses S. Grant things because apparently he had, like, some anti-Semitic notions at some point in his life, yet still had more Jewish members in his cabinet than any other president. And they're still, like, again, so it was a moment in his life, not even, he didn't die that man, he didn't become that man. And again, if there's no room for people to evolve and change, like we talk about progression in Moses, every 7 years, your entire body is different. Like, just physiologically, the cells in your body, and that's your entire body. That's not, like, it doesn't happen all at once. Like, your red blood cells are brand new every 120 days. Your skin cells switch every couple of years. Like, there's, like, a timeline of all the different cells in your body, and it's that 7 year thing is actually mostly, I think, your bones, right? Because that takes the longest time to overdo it. But again, realistically, fucking day to day, you're practically a different, like, a composition of whatever food you've been eating for the past 10 years or whatever the fuck however you want.
At 7 a molecular level,
literally,
quite literally, not the same person.
And yet we still think ourselves as that same person because we have this memory, which is also kind of fucking crazy. Like, I remember even in school, like, getting really into the nitty gritty of, like, how memory works. Like, they still don't fucking know. You're at university. Like, I wasn't in a doctorate program, but, like, you're at a pretty high level of education, and they're going, we kind of don't really know. Like, it was like 2018 before they figured out how anesthesia works. You know that, eh?
No.
They literally didn't know how general anesthesia, you're going for surgery to knock you out. They didn't know how that worked. They just knew if we did this, this, and this, people go night-night. And funny. 1 in 9,000 are like Jessica Biel or whatever in fucking... In a lot, no, not Biel. In a wake of what? Remember that one? No, it's Jessica. Which Jessica was it? No,
Chastain. I don't know. There's a bunch of.
There's so many hot Jessicas. What's her name? Like, not Biel.
Alba.
I was Alba for sure. I'm pretty sure, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping.
Yeah, one of the hot Jessicas.
One of the. But yeah, she, like, every once in a while the anesthesia doesn't work and you're, like, awake for it and you can feel, but you just can't move.
I learned something new today. I had no idea.
But yeah, they didn't know until just recently, and even then, like, I don't know how it works. Like, it's like a fucking crazy explanation.
I've been on
it. I totally. You just go, but they didn't know how that worked. They just say, all right, give them this much. But yeah, like, memory is completely decentralized in the brain. It's not actually one. There's, like, the hippocampus is, like, arguably, like, the center. Like, it's like a hub of your memory, but, like, everything is, especially the way it's tied to senses and stuff. And, well, that's one of the reasons why the sense of smell is so tied to memories, because your olfactory nerves, like your nose sensory nerves, go right past your hippocampus.
Right.
So a lot of that information gets, like, coded, but, like, what do you mean that information gets, like, coded by accident? Like, is it like a flow? Like, just like when you start really asking the questions and be like, what the fuck is actually going, they go, we don't really fucking know. It's trippy. And again, because those cells are re-replicating, like you don't like, I mean, neurons do last a very, very, very long time. Like they're some of the older cells in our body, but they do also go away and go through normal cellular regenesis and die and come back. But somehow that information is maintained, right? Like, is it a cloud? Like that's like some of these ideas that is there a collective unconscious that exists somehow above, I'm pointing above our heads, but like, who knows what that means? It could be just like diffuse through the universe, but like, it's the same thing. Like why do birds like learn how to fly the way they do? Or like certain like animals will come out of the womb, like ready to walk and scared of certain animal. Like, there's genetic information being passed down, but that's it. Somehow that turns into like behavioral changes and memories. And so, memory's a trippy fucking thing, man. And it's really not credible. Like most of the time, if it's been X amount of time from an event, your memory's kind of not really fucking credible. Yeah. You can keep replaying it and that helps like solidify it a little bit. But if any of that information is wrong when you started, you're fucked from Jump Street. So like, and most of the time it's not. Like your senses aren't fucking perfect.
But I feel like you can also like remember something wrong.
Easy.
You can totally think you remember something happening one way, tell yourself the story, and like that's what you get with like pathological liars. It's like they just tell themselves the way they wanted something to happen, and they'll just tell themselves that, they'll tell other people that, and that just, to your point, becomes encoded in their brain. And for every ounce of their own belief, that is the thing that happened. That is fact. That is how they remember it, and that is how it will remain in their memory going 100%. Forward.
Like George Costanza says, a lie isn't a lie if you believe it. And it's true. Like how many people have convinced themselves or in some kind of fucking year-long beef with their friend or something because they remember, like I remember in high school having like a weird tiff with my one buddy because I started dating a girl, and I was like, yo bro, like it was like one of my first girlfriends, and I was like, yo bro, I don't know, we're gonna have to kind of like share some time here, like I'm not gonna be able to see you as much. And he thought I was like, I'm never gonna see you again. And he never called me and then I call him a couple months later being like, yo, where you been? He's like, I thought you said you couldn't chill. And I was like, no, not as much, bro. But again, like it's like that little, like that
how
little.
He remembered it versus how you remembered it, and did you?
And
say,
maybe I did say something fucked. Who knows, right? That's the problem. And that's the other thing too, is that like, I can never, even obviously we're understanding each other talking, but like there's so many different things that like I could say something to you, and if you don't necessarily understand exactly the way I'm telling you, or you just interpret it differently, like I'll never know exactly what you're thinking or what you're knowing. And even if you could, tell me what you're feeling, there's a million different things that could change that. And then my right. So now we're just like in this echo chamber where it just becomes this like weird thing. But
one thing I find really good that I've been trying to do more of, but I don't think I've done it tonight, because I think for the most part we understand what's going on, is trying to like almost relay back to people what they're saying. Sure. So especially if you're in like not an argument or like, but maybe a contentious conversation or a debate or something, especially if you don't agree with someone, the way, like if you can listen to their argument, listen to what they're saying, and then like basically summarize back to them what they're saying, I think it goes a long way in terms of like people knowing you're actually listening, right? Because a lot of time, like, and I feel like sometimes, at whatever situation you're in, like you're listening, but you're also like, well, what am I going to say? Like, what what's the response going to be?
Sure.
And so you end up like not being able to pay attention, because it's hard to like come up with what you're going to say while really deeply listening at the same time. Yeah. And so I think being able to like repeat back and summarize what someone has said, and then getting them to a point of like, like, hey, does that summarize what you said to me? Yeah. And then they'll say like, well, like, yes, except on this one part, like I actually meant this. And getting them to a point of like, okay, yes, now you've taken what I've said, you've packaged it, and regurgitated it back to me. I think that the ability to like take the time to do that when you're really trying to understand someone is something that not a lot of people do, but that I've been like, and I definitely don't do, I'm not saying I do, but like that I've been trying to be more conscious of and trying to do more of, like when I don't understand what someone said fully, it's like asking questions of clarification, asking, trying to summarize back to them what they're saying. I think a lot of people just like, yeah, no, I got most of that. Like I got like 75%, which is like the gist of it. And, I'll proceed on that basis where it's you may have missed some of the most important parts of what that person said.
Yeah. And you can get pretty far on 75%.
Yeah.
I mean, look at most people, this is a complete tangent, but look at people with math, right? Like a lot of people who aren't good at math aren't necessarily bad at math. They just missed a crucial lesson at some point in their learning of math. And the way we teach math in school, the fucking train kept rolling.
Yeah.
And you just missed that one bit. And fucking a lot of people, I'm definitely one of them. I consider myself bad at math because I missed a couple for sure somewhere along the lines and didn't put the piece together for whatever reason. But I fucking graduated university. So like you can go pretty far on not the full picture. And I think that goes for, again, like you said, with conversation too. And that's such a great approach though, man, like repeating what people have to say. Cause again, that's the thing. Like it would totally help with a lot of things. Again, it's never going to be perfect, but like a lot of misunderstandings that would help with, right? Where people are like, I didn't mean it like that. How many times have you said it like I've said that? How many times have you heard people go, oh no, I didn't mean it. It's like, okay, well, let's give people more of an opportunity to talk about that when that does happen and tell us what you meant.
I find that's a good, it's something that happens in my work a lot. Like I work with some really smart people. Like I often am in a room and I'm like, I feel like I'm the dumbest person in this room right now. And sometimes I am. But I think, so a lot of times someone's like giving a presentation, someone's talking and it's like, I maybe got like 40% of that. I did not follow, like, or he used an acronym. I'm like, I don't know what that acronym is. I don't know what that means.
Right.
People sometimes are like talking in a language, it's like, could be like a legal team. It could be people who have just like a different area of expertise that, it kind of seems like they're like talking above you in this place where it's like hard to keep up. And if I've learned anything, it's that like, if you're confused and you're in a room of like 5, even 6 people, someone else is confused in that room as well.
So true.
Like, I think we always just assume like, no, it's just me. I live in this like unique world of, I'm the only one who doesn't get it. And, I don't think much of myself and whatever, but it's like, so this whole idea of like, there are no bad questions, like there really aren't. Like ask the point of clarification, ask what that acronym means. Because someone else like, and often, again, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but like I try to do this more often, where more often than not, I'll like ask that question. Someone else will be like, man, I'm glad you asked that. Cause like, I also didn't know what he was talking. Like,
for sure.
It becomes this thing where then more people are comfortable. And then hopefully again, it works in a bunch of ways. Like, first of all, now I understand. This other person who didn't understand now does. And maybe the person who was talking is more aware that like, hey, maybe I need to adjust the way I'm speaking about this to cater to a more broad audience based on who's in the room and speak the entire acronym out as opposed and maybe give a 1-sentence explanation of what that is so people can follow along. And a lot of what I do in my work is like taking what is kind of convoluted stuff, jargon, all that, and try to put it into more accessible layman, like everyday language for people. And so a lot of it is just that, like speaking to people in a language they understand, in a way of speaking that is normal, and like just taking out the jargony stuff, taking out the acronyms, taking out the technical speak, and I think just like knowing that you're not, even though you might think you're probably not the only person who's confused by whatever is being, presented or spoken about. For sure.
And especially if you're coming from a place of authority, a lot of times when you are speaking, even the speaker themselves expects people to be like, you just have to understand me because I'm the one who's speaking and I'm speaking in a clear way. I wrote this out or whatever, and it makes sense to me. It should make sense to the person. But in fact, it's the opposite. The listener, as the speaker, you're way more beholden to the listener for them to understand you. You know what I mean? Like, it's your responsibility for them to understand you, not their responsibility to understand you, especially if you're talking wild shit. And when you do open that dialogue in smaller and smaller realms, like, yes, of course, there's sometimes harder. There's not as many routes to give that type of feedback or ask those type of questions, town hall situations, whatever. But then there are those situations, and that's where that does come from. And it should be more of any time that people are speaking, it should be this open dialogue of, hey, like, I'm not just like speaking at you here. Like, we're having a conversation that we're both a part of. And, you know, even though, yes, I'm delivering information to you, it's only as good as the information that you can retain and understand. Right. And it becomes harder. I mean, like, again, talk about coming from a place of authority. And I know the girls are pretty young, but like, does it feel like that way, like, for you to establish that kind of communication with your kids too, right? And be like, what do you mean by what you're saying right now? I mean, I know they're so young right now.
No, it's a good example because, like, so I've seen these videos of, like, it's like explain, you know, quantum physics, and then it'll be like different levels. So it'd be like to a 4-year-old,
right? Yeah.
And then it's like explain quantum physics to like a high schooler, explain whatever quantum physics to like a grad students, and it just like, and then to a professional, and so like
to a quantum physicist,
a quantum physicist. So like it's these different stages of where people are in terms of their knowledge, their understanding, their linguistic ability, and so to the point, like, I speak to my 3-year-old, and I don't speak to her in the same way that I speak to people at my work, right? And I don't speak to people at my work the same way I speak to my wife. Like, I don't use technical acronyms in meetings, and, you know, I don't use that like professional talk of like, oh, let's take this offline, and, you know,
we'll circle back
on this one. Like, no one talks like that in real life, right? So there's different ways that people generally speak to different people, like, and so especially with the girls, it's like I have to explain things in a way that they will understand, and so often it is, you know, adjusting my tone, adjusting the speed of my speech, you know, using words they will understand, not using big words. If I'm going to use a big word, I want to explain what that means. I think it's good to have a bigger diversity of the types of people you might be speaking to, because it, you know, and it's funny, like, I often come in the morning on a Monday morning. It's like I've just been speaking to a 3-year-old for 2 days straight. Like, it's, you know, you get so used to that. And same thing, like I'll go from like a day where I've just back to back meetings where I'm speaking this one way, and then I'll walk out and see my daughter, and it's like immediately you just have to switch it off and talk a different way. But, you know, I think that's a skill that hopefully, you know, people can acquire and have that like chameleon ability to be able to adjust based on the people. And you don't want to like do it in a condescending way. Like, you don't want to you know, talk like an idiot just because you think people can't understand you, but trying to be like, you know, understanding of like taking the time to try and understand where people are coming from, and how you can and maybe should adjust how you're speaking to better suit their ears, I guess.
And almost never assume that. Find that out yourself. Ask it from the person. I find that's where a lot of people get into trouble, is when they assume your level of knowledge, or they assume your interest or whatever it might be, and then you end up talking down to people. And I've done it a million times. I've done it millions of times talking to someone that I'm just thinking they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, and they go, "Yeah, I know I know," and you're just like, "True."
Yeah.
But I guess if we bring this whole thing full circle, I feel like that's the hardest part about when you talk about politics and these people who are making a lot of these decisions that we're all happy to be critiquing. Just realize that if you're not an active participant in that conversation, you're just as bad. Like, if you're feeling this way, and yes, of course, it's much harder. There's much harder routes of communication to get it directly to some of these decision makers, you know, that be world leaders or even certain politicians. But a lot are really accessible, whether be through letters or fucking literally set a meeting with your counselor or whatever, right? Yep. Like, they have offices. That's what it's for, right? Like, you can talk to people, right? And again, yes, it might seem Sisyphean. It might just be like whatever, but we need to have this participation both ways. And then if any of these leaders are, you know, Obama and everyone who's listening to this podcast right now, because we know they're listening. No, but like, realize that, hey, if you don't get this information, and I think that's well known, I'm not trying to, crack the case on anything here, but again, realize that you can't just be talking down to people. It's just as much a responsibility to know who you're talking to when you're talking to them as much as you can. I know it's super hard and trying to figure it out, but my goodness, good luck to everyone who's doing it. But realize that, hey, everyone is an active participant in this whole thing. If this is going to be democracy like we want it to be, we need to have a two-way street here, right? I mean, original democracy, if you want to go back to the ancient Greeks, was only like a certain like level of person in the city-state. It wasn't actually everybody.
Right.
Like there were still like some serfs or whatever. But anyway, talk about the girls. What's going on for Christmas? You guys do a little Christmas thing, or what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun getting to like restart the Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you grow up and it's like Christmas is the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Christmas stops becoming so cool. And then, you kind of just like go home for the holidays, maybe whatever it is you do with your family. Mm-hmm. But like that Christmas energy, that Christmas spirit, that like literally the Christmas spirit just like kind of isn't there. You're kind of just like exchanging gifts, and obviously it's like fun to spend time with your family, but like there is an excitement that children have, and I think the girls are now like really getting into that now, where they're like old enough to understand. Paige is doing this like what the hell's the word? Where you like the nights before Christmas? What is it like the
Advent?
Advent.
Yeah. The Advent calendar.
She's doing. There's an Advent behind the camera. That's why.
That's what I'm pointing.
Advent over there.
Yo,
all the people out there with the
Advents.
Shout out. She's doing this like Advent, but it's like with like toys. So it's like this thing that's on the wall.
Yeah.
And nothing like crazy. Like today, they got like a sheet with some stickers on it. Like it's but like they're just every morning they run out of bed and they run down like, what did Santa get us today? And they're losing their minds, and it just like, again, Ada's turning 3 in March. Maggie will be 2, so like Maggie's a bit young, but like Ada's getting right into that prime. Like, man, I feel like 3 to like basically whenever you're too old.
Oh yeah,
is just like, man, it is the most fun thing ever.
Oh, I bet.
And especially just like buying presents, it goes from like, I'm buying my 32-year-old brother a present that like he definitely could just buy for himself.
Sure.
To like, man, what can I find that my girls will lose their minds? And honestly, you could do anything. Like last year we ended up just like, we got them some cool stuff as well, but we ended up also just like around, I want to say like September, we just like hid a bunch of their toys that they like kind of weren't playing with. Just hid them for like 4 months on end. Wrapped them up, and they just gave it to them on Christmas. They lost their minds, because like in their minds 4 months is like their entire life.
Oh god,
like,
sure.
It's as if you lost a toy like 7 years ago. It was your favorite thing ever, and all of a sudden you just got like,
it's a percentage of their life.
Exactly. It's literally a quarter of their life. And so there's just this like excitement, this energy.
Yeah.
It just like, and it
oh yeah,
you can like live, you can get re-excited and reinvigorated about the excitement of Christmas, like through them. And I think that to me is like the epitome of what having kids is all that excitement. It's not just Christmas. It like, you almost get to relive your childhood like through their eyes as they experience all these incredible things for the first time, or like, in a way that you haven't in 28 years or whatever it's been.
Right.
So no, Christmas super excited. We're doing,
so cool.
We're doing like family stuff, obviously on in and around Christmas, like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
Yep.
And then we're doing like, we have a few friends who kind of all have kids in and around the same age, like basically from like 6 months to like 4 years old. There's like 8 of them. So we're doing like a friend's Christmas. We're calling it Pee Wee Christmas, and it's basically just like a gift exchange for the kids. So it's like a Secret Santa where every kid got like randomly assigned a different kid, and so we're just kind of like, hey, let's just like Christmas round 2. Yeah. $30 presents, not go crazy, like just a little something, just so we can like do it again, but do it with all of our friends and have so fun doing it. So very exciting. I've got 2 weeks off.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a bunch of vacation that they're making me use. So it was like, I think we were originally just Christmas to New Year's, but ended
Sure.
up taking that week before off. So
they're kind of Christmas and New Year's almost like in a perfect place this year where you don't have to take too much time off and you can get like 2 weeks. Like I got like, I think I'm off from like the 19th to the 5th.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I took like 8 days.
Yeah,
like something like that, right?
Yeah, they gave us like from Christmas Day, so the 25th until the 5th, and then it was a half day on the 24th. So I ended up taking like whatever it would be, the 22nd, 3rd, and the half day on the 20th. So like I only ended up having to take like 2.5 days, and I'm getting a full 2 weeks. So it's pretty sweet. I can't complain. It's
so special. Yeah, I was wondering, again, like it's funny, more and more of our friends starting to have kids and stuff, and just to see that experience, because I mean, at work we did this adopt a family program. I did an episode on it just this past week, but it's like through the Children's Fund the Children's Foundation, and they assign a family to you or multiple families, and it tells you like who's in the family, mom, dad, or mom, single mom or whatever, single dad, and how many kids, and then it tells you each kid's name, how old they are, boy or girl, whatever, what they like, and then there's like a little wish list that they get to kind of put.
Nice.
And we all pool money at work, and then you get to go out and like buy the gifts. So it was like, it's kind of fun, again, not having any kids to buy them for, but going out and buying like little stuff and looking at things and be like, oh, they're gonna love this, they're gonna love that. Like literally, like one of the girls was just like anything Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
And then you just see that and you're like, well, there's something. She's obviously gonna like that. It's Lilo and Stitch. Boom, easy.
And that's the biggest thing to them. Like,
right.
Like name, be like Jimi Hendrix if he was still alive, and it's like it'd be like if someone got you like a sit down with Jimi Hendrix for Christmas, like you would just lose it.
Sure.
But in their world, Lilo and Stitch like is their hero. That is all they care about, is all they think about, and that's like the level of excitement, giddiness that they have, that it's just like, yeah, it's the best thing ever. So
man, that's so cool.
I mean, you're welcome to come by if you want to feel some of that energy.
Oh, sure. Hey, hell yeah. I'd love to. Yeah. Vicarious. Yeah, I'd love to, man. 100%. Again, that's so cool. Like I said, seeing this new stage of everyone's life too. And again, renewing that magic is so cool.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about this before, this complete left turn.
Yeah.
But there's that story I wanted to tell you at the beginning of the podcast. And we'll finish it on that. What do you think?
Okay, before, because I want to say something before you finish on that, because the last 2 times we've done this, I've meant to say something that I've forgotten.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the fact that you do this.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't know that I said this off the pod either. I think you and I are big podcast guy. We listen to a lot of podcasts, maybe some of the same, and some otherwise. And I think other podcasts are great. Most podcasts are made by it's a comedian, it's it could be an athlete, could be like whatever. It's someone who had some big thing and then is kind of just doing the podcast and kind of develops the following through the other thing, not through the podcast.
For sure.
And not that you're like a normal guy, because you're 6'7", former football player. Like you're not a normal guy by most standards.
Sure.
But as far as someone that I feel like listening to, I can relate to more. Mm-hmm. Like when I hear some of these other guys talking, it's like, yeah, cool. You were the championship you were the champion of that, and you won 17 gold medals over there, and it's it's good sometimes in terms of just you want to laugh because it's a comedian, or you want to get motivated because it's like a Marine or something. There's a time and place for that. Mm-hmm. But as far as the relatability factor and so the things you talk about and to me how closely they relate to some of the stuff that either I'm going through or stuff that I've thought about or I'm curious about. Mm-hmm. It just feels more of your everyday man's podcast. And it's something that literally I've, before obviously coming across yours, I was like, man, I just wish there was where's the normal guy's podcast? Where's the guy who obviously again, you got a lot going on, dynamic life, musician, athlete,
right.
Not to say you're a regular ass guy.
No.
But to me, it's just more relatable.
Sure.
So, I just want to say that.
Thanks, brother.
It's,
Appreciate that.
Of course.
Again, it's kind of one of these things where I had enough people be like, hey, you should do a podcast. Like you talk, you know, and it's mostly because I think of that exact thing is that, you know, I always try and find a way to relate to people, right? Like I think, you know, you talk about, you know, reiterating people's positions in conversation. I'm all about trying to be like, hey, and it's a bit of a tightrope walk. Like I find I'm hypercritical on myself, but I worry about telling stories from my own experience. I worry that I sound like I'm only talking about myself, but I'm saying to be like, hey, this is like, I'm sure you've gone through something, right? Like you said that too, right? And you pick up on that, and most people do. But at the same time, I think if I wasn't aware of that, it would be even worse, right? So it's like this whole idea of like, you know, people want to be free of concern. I learned that from Jim Carrey. He said, people want to be free of concern. And if you can do that, one of the best ways to do that is feel like you can relate to something,
right,
but also say like, hey, you know what, there's like other people out there doing their thing, which I guess is relatability. But at the same time, you'd be surprised at how much you can find that in someone you wouldn't think you had anything to do with.
right.
A person you met on the street, you never even thought for a minute you'd have one thing that you could... I've said this before, I'll say it again. 95% of things we'd agree on. It's the 5% that people get all fucking
squirrely
jubbly about. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So thanks for saying that, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Cheers. Like I said, you know, I was trying to find a good way to segue into the story.
Yeah.
And if you've heard it, don't stop me because I'm sure people will enjoy it. But one of Yin and I's buddies, Benny Mura, I wanted to say he's been on the podcast, but he's definitely a friend of the podcast. Has not actually been a guest yet. I got Schnurr on though once.
Yeah.
But I lived with Benny, or we were all in residence together first. Then I lived with Benny in our house in university, and then Benny moved in with you guys downtown. And then did you guys ever live together after that, like in the city or anything? Okay,
him and
Jesse.
Him and Jesse
mostly. Yeah. Okay. Another friend of ours, Jesse, shout out. But when Benny and I were living together, there was all kinds of shenanigans going on. Like, you remember that house was super fun. And even back then, it was just nuts. And there was we were only in there for 2 years. You look back on it and be like, fuck, how long were we in there? But we were only in there for 2 years. And, the second year, so it's like first year we're in res, second year, obviously. So it's like the first year we're in this house. And where we lived, if anyone's familiar with London, Ontario, we lived on Coombs, which is like on the west side of the campus, I guess, like Western Road side of campus, kind of more suburban, like that side of things, not like the Richmond side where it's like close to the bars and like a little bit more happening, I feel, on that side.
Yeah.
But where we were was right in between campus and like the neighborhood where all my football buddies lived. And I was... For everyone listening, I was the only football player in my house. But all my football buddies would, because of where the house was, would stop by and say what up. And like, so like half the team knew where we lived, and like we'd all chill and stuff and have a good time. And like one of my roommates went to high school with one of my teammates and stuff. So like everyone knew each other well, and everyone got along. But I remember this was November of second year. So it was like well into the year, but it was still during season. So I was on the team, not really drinking, not really going out as much during the week, because we'd have practice and stuff. You can't get like too fucked up. Weekends obviously are write-offs, and like earlier in the week maybe, but this was like a Wednesday. So I had one more practice the next day. So I was chilling that night. But our buddy Danny, remember our roommate Danny, he went out that night and just like hit up the bars, like Wacky Wednesday, probably went to Jimmers, like chilled out, right? And he went out, did his thing, and I'm pretty sure everyone else was in the home. So Linny, Lep, and then Benny, the four of us, we just chilled, went to bed at a decent hour. And most of us were like in kin or like some science degree, so all of our classes were in the morning anyway. So like I said, we were sleeping. Around midnight, I hear like some commotion, and it's Danny coming home. Obviously, he's coming home, gonna make a little bit of commotion. He's probably hammered or whatever. And I heard like voices, and I was like, oh, he might have like brought one of our buddies back just to like, you know, whatever, do bong tokes or whatever, hang out. And then I fall back asleep. I don't know what happened. A few minutes later, I hear like a banging at the door, like doo doo doo. Like I'm like, what the fuck are these guys doing? Like they're just baked, like doing stupid shit. whatever, I'll just sleep it off. Still like fucking constant bang. We're like, what the fuck is going on, right? No, everyone else who's in the house is in the same position, just being like, what the fuck? Just like, shut the fuck up. If I ignore it, maybe it'll go away.
Right.
Maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, my fucking door of my bedroom swings open and there's a cop standing there with a light shining it at me going, London police, get in the living room. We're like, what the fuck, right? So I get up and I'm like, what's going on, right? I'm like dead sober, like I'm just like awoken, but I'm like, what's going on? He's like, you owe the cabbie $10.25, like get in the fucking, and literally I'm going to get money, like I'm going to grab money, like I'll get it, I'll just fucking throw money at this cabbie. He's like, nope, too late. I'm like, too late for what? He's like, no, actually what they did first is they brought us all, so they woke each of us up just like that. 5 fucking cops came in our house, woke each one of us up like that. Lep was sleeping naked. They watched him get dressed. Like Danny just got home from the bar, like Bongtok City, like he's just fucking like just went to bed and is like, oh God, it's over, like the philosophical reality. And so we're all upstairs and they bring us out onto our front porch. And you remember that house, it wasn't like a big porch. It was like a pad. It was like a concrete pad. It wasn't even, there was no railing even. So all 5 of us are out on this thing. It's November. And we're fucking cold, and the cop is going with the light at each one of us. Is it this guy? To the cab driver. He's got the cab driver there, and he's standing beside him and goes, is it this guy? Is it this guy? Is this guy? And we're starting to put the pieces like, someone ditched a cab here. Because we look, there's a cab and three patrol cars. 2 with 2 in them and 1 with 1. Like I'm thinking like, what is happening in London? You guys don't have fucking anything else to do than send 3 motherfuckers to come to a house in the middle for $10.25.
Yeah.
God forbid. Anyway, he goes through all of us with the fucking flashlight. None of us are the culprit. Like the cabbie's like, I don't recognize any of these guys. And then you can tell the cops are like looking at each other being like, well, what do we do now?
We fucking broke into these guys' houses.
Basically, right? They're kind of like, fuck. You can tell they're like, fuck. Because all of a sudden I go, hey, can we go back inside? Like, it's cold. We're all in our fucking underwear out here. Like, it's cold. Can we just go back? And they're like, okay. And immediately we're kind of like, this is weird. So they sit us all back down. They're like, give us your ID. We're going to take your ID. We're going to go look in that camera. And if we see any of you in that cab, you guys are done. And we're all like, okay. And we're kind of at this point like, yo, Danny, is it you? Because he was the only one who went out. Yeah, so we are kind of like, yo, and you can tell Danny, remember Danny, he was like, fuck you guys. Like, it wasn't me. Like, he, without us even saying it, he knew what we were thinking. And he was like, it wasn't me. And he was still like kind of drunk. So he was like, fuck you. And he's always like the type of kid who would just like talk to cops. Like, he was never like scared of them. Which again, you fucking talk to them. But so he was like, fuck you guys, basically. Like, I didn't do it. No one did it, and you guys just should get the fuck out, basically. But they were like kind of leaning on us, like, give us your ID, this, that, and third. And you remember how our living room was, like the kitchen was like kind of built out into the living room. Like, it was like the dining room and the living room were like an L shape. And then the kitchen was like this inner kind of sanctum with 2 fucking doors, right? And the cop is standing in one of the doorways like this, just leaning on the door, talking to us. And while this is all happening, he just goes like, and farts the craziest fart, man. Like, literally rips the craziest ass ever. We're like, what the fuck is this? Like, I was like, if I was in my right mind, I would have been like, give me your fucking badge number, man. Like, that's fucking important. It's just so unprofessional. And he like kind of like smirks at one of his buddies and is just like, Jesus Murphy. So anyway, they all fuck off. They take our shit, they leave, and we're like, and we finally, we're like, yo, Danny, was it you, more or less? And he's like, no, I fucking said no, it wasn't me. So then all of us are like, well, then what the fuck happened? Because we're like, what is this? Everyone's all fucking riled up. No one's going right back to bed.
Right.
So we're all talking about it. And Lep is like super sketch. Like, I can tell he's got something in mind here. And I'm like, Lep, what the fuck? And he's like, I fucking think I know who did it. And we're like, what the fuck? What? And like I said, remember some of my football teammates went to high school. Like, one of my football teammates went to high school with Lep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he's thinking of this guy instantly, starting to think of this guy. And this guy is thinking of our buddy, shout out May, is a fucking reckless motherfucker. He's wild. But he started thinking about him right away. And I'm like, okay, I'm in my mind, I'm like, I have no idea what happened. I'm still like, some fucker fucked us, or like, I think we were like, it must be someone we know, because they would have had to known our address to tell the cabbie. And I think because the address was 420 Coombs, everyone remembered 420. Like, just take us to 420 Coombs. So anyway, the next day I'm telling this exact same story to like the whole football team. Basically, I'm at practice and I'm literally like 80 guys are like all crowded around in their lockers right before practice. So I'm just telling the story because I was like, guys, 5 cops were in my house last night. So everyone's like, what? And I'm telling the story, and May's right in the front row going like, no way. Like, he's like really selling it. Like, and I'm like, I'm looking at him. My other buddy B-Rye's looking at him. We're like, what the fuck? You remember B-Rye?
Yeah.
We're fucking like, this is super sketchy, skeptical hippo eyes. Anyway, I tell the fucking whole team the story. We go out to practice. Everyone gets ready. And me and May are running past each other on the field, like just whatever, get to our place on the field. And we run past each other like this. And as we're running past, I just go, I know it was you. as we were going. And he just goes, man, I'm sorry. I thought they were just going to drive away. Like, I didn't know they were going to call the cops, and 5 cops. So May and our other buddy, San Vito, I think it was those 2 guys. Might have been Bo too. Might have been 3 guys, to be honest. Just ran through our house.
Through the house.
Went through the front door because it was open, and out the back door, jumped the fence through someone else's backyard and went to their fucking shit. So the cabbie was like, yeah, they walked in the fucking front door there for sure. Because the cops were like looking around like as if we were hiding someone too. Like, they were searching. And we're like, this is unlawful. I wish I was like a pre-law student or something and could have been like, this is fucking unjust.
Yeah. Like, you can't be, first of all, you can't be breaking into our house. Like, we didn't let you in.
Nope.
But like, you're 20 years old. You don't know your rights. You don't know what cops are allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do.
And it's London cops. And how many times have they for sure come into a place? Like, I was under the impression Danny just came in and was just drunk and forgot. Like, I wasn't like cheesed at him like he ran it. I was just like, oh, you should have fucking paid the cab driver, like whatever. But I think the cab driver was knocking on the door too, but almost just fucking ignored it. Yeah. Right. So anyway, like I said, I had to jam that story in.
I mean, I feel like we were talking about it just because how poor you are when you're at school, and like ditching cabs was just kind of what you had to do to get by.
That's exactly where that came up.
And I mean, we did a similar thing, but it was like kind of we would tell the cabs to go to like the house behind where my buddy lives. And it was like, because we thought it was sneaky because it was like, and then what you do is you do the like, hey, I'm just going to get like, my parents left money in the mailbox or something. So you'd like go up, and then like, as you're going to the front of the house, you just like run around the back, and then you just basically jump over the fence in the back, and you're just like at, your friend's house.
And they would think you're running like through the neighborhood, and if they even went to look.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, it was definitely not the smartest thing because like, eventually the person who lived in that house was like, yo, what the, because like, the cabs would probably just go to the front door and be like, hey, like, blah, blah. And then like they put it together. We're like, like a bunch of kids who were like hopping the fence. Well, like my neighbor, that attaches to the back of my backyard has a bunch of kids that are always there, like getting up to no good. Like, so eventually it like made its way back around to where like, and because this was like in high school, this was like, my buddy's parents.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. We're just dumb.
It wasn't even like uni?
No. And so eventually his parents like, hey, I don't know that this is you guys, but if it is you guys, stop. It's just like one of those, like, I can't prove it, but I know. I see. We know what's going,
It's like Dokes from fucking Dexter.
Yeah, we need this.
I know you a fucking weird motherfucker.
Yeah, I can't prove it yet, but
dude, I don't know if you ever watched Dexter. I'm not casting dispersion against Dexter. I just couldn't watch it past the first season. I never finished it.
Okay.
Because of the Dokes character. Because the fact they killed him off. No, I was like, this is the guy who knows. Like, you could milk this in so many different
Right.
ways, but they just kill him off.
I don't think it was the first season though. He made it a
Okay.
couple seasons.
Maybe
he made it a few seasons.
Maybe I watched further then. Maybe watched further than
Yeah.
the first season. But as soon as Dokes got killed, I was like, you fuckers.
I want to say he made it like halfway through. I want to say.
Oh, really? Maybe
I
I watched more than I thought.
I want to say there were like 6 or 7 seasons.
Right.
And I think he made it to like at least season 3.
Oh,
or
okay,
something
okay.
Like that. Yeah.
I just didn't finish the season. I definitely didn't finish the series past when he goes down.
Yeah. It kind of, as a lot of series like that are good. It fell off a little bit, and they're just kind of like dragging it out at a certain point, and then they like do like Young Dexter, and then now they're doing a remake.
Son of
thing.
Dexter.
Yeah. So.
Dad of Dexter. Yeah. Without going into a whole other thing, I think that's the thing with a lot of TV shows anyway, is that some of them have like 2 or 3 seasons figured out. And they have no idea whether it's going to be a hit or not. Why even think past that, right?
A lot of time it's just a pilot.
That's it.
It's one episode.
Truly.
Because Paige works in that industry, and like a lot of the time, all you're pitching is an idea. It's a pilot. You have a script, an idea that like is kind of semi-formed. You bring it to a studio. They greenlight you enough money to like film an episode, a pilot, and then it's like, okay, cool. Like this is all right. We'll give you enough for a season, and then it's like only if that does well do you get greenlit for a second. Like
sure,
you're never, unless you're like, HBO and you have James Cameron directing, like you're not going to get greenlit for multiple seasons right out the gate. That just doesn't happen.
No.
Most of the time it's like, we'll give you just enough to like see how this does, just enough to see how this next thing does.
Totally.
And only if and when this actually like bears fruit are we going to greenlight, another season and more money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The whole Seinfeld plot sounds like pretty accurate to what actually goes down.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. It's, I couldn't imagine. It really does seem like most writers are just constantly just coming up with premises and ideas, and that's it. And then
seeing what sticks.
Like Lost was a show like that where I was like, I'm pretty sure they had the first season figured out, and that's it. Yeah. If in fact, like you said, a plane crashes, that's as much as they figured out. Yeah. And it does seem like they're literally writing on this polar bear shows up and this fucking black smoke.
Yeah.
And you're like,
all this convenient stuff that just happens for the plot.
And then as soon as it's resolved, you go back to look at it, because it was also being released on television, where you're not really going to look back on an episode that just aired, right?
Some stuff
until
like,
you
doesn't
buy
make
like the
sense
DVD.
with some of the other stuff, and
It makes at least at the very least, it sure does make sense in a lot of cases, but at the very least, it completely removes any mystery and any of like the real cachet once you know about it's revealed and it's gone. It's not like some super classic movies. You can watch that reveal a million times and it's still like fascinating.
Yeah. Don't worry, you didn't miss much with Dexter.
Just kept doing his thing.
Dokes was like the best part of it. So
just kept putting people in saran and fucking chopping
injecting them, and then
dude, he did that big guy
thing. Yeah,
that one episode though, he did a big huge guy, and
it didn't really work.
Well, it didn't really work, but he gave him 2.
Yes,
he ended up giving him 2, and I was like, I'm fucked, because I used to be like, I bet I could take one of those things, and then he actually gave him 2, and I'm like, I'm done. I'd be done for sure. He like jumped on his back. So funny. Well, right on, brother. Thanks for coming, man.
Of course.
That was
pleasure.
so fun.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking about it. I was like, I feel like I haven't done the pod in a while.
Yeah.
And like I had a really fun time the last 2 times.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, I think it's been like a year.
Jesus.
I remember it was like shortly after I moved in.
Right.
So yeah, felt overdue, but I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh man, anytime.
It was fun. I tell Paige when I like went back, and anybody else who knows I've done this, like I find it like cathartic, and I'm sure it's the same for you. Like when you're just here, it's almost like video journaling. I'm sure when you're just here doing your own thing, and then especially to do it with someone else, like being able to bounce ideas off of and concepts and
so much better.
It's like fucking free therapy. All I have to do is bring over pizza, and
that's
it,
all
baby. Costs me, man.
Hey, anytime. Like I said, it's like the coin you put in the fucking machine to get it started. It's a giant pizza.
Yeah,
you just put that in, and we fucking ride.
Yeah.
Anytime, man. Like I said, it's one of those things where actually I would love to, like, I'm actually doing that at work, where it's like a 2-man podcast. Like, it always be 2-man would be so fun, and you're just like riffing and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always more fun to have a guest on. So anytime, brother.
Cheers.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you want to find Ian Hanecak anywhere, check him out. Do you have any socials or anything you want to tell anyone, or just look at his
Not
face
on the
here?
socials.
You can look at our video and just look at his face right here. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Check us out wherever you're watching. Like and share and subscribe and do all that fun stuff. We'll see you next week. Peace.